perfection. That's what it's about. It's about those moments when you can feel the perfection of creation, the beauty of physics, the wonder of mathematics, you know, the elation of action and reaction. And that is the kind of perfection that I want to be connected to.
Spins and turns, angles and curves, the shape of dreams, half remembered. Slip the surly bonds of earth and touch the face of perfection. A perfect face, perfect lace. Find a perfect world for the end of Carroth's race, end of line.
Hi there guys, welcome back to the SIC channel. Thank you very much for tuning in for a new build series of an FPV drone or quadcopter such that you see here. And what you see here is a quadcopter I built last year. This is one of my Ripley quadcopters. I built 3 of these to test various things, cameras, motors, propellers. And this quadcopter worked out very well. That's partly maybe experience, that's also partly a little bit of luck, I guess. Yeah, so, but this one and the other 2 worked out very well. Not only do they perform well, very powerful quadcopter this, and the video feed, the FPV feed from these quadcopters is super duper clean. Yeah. So in this series we're gonna build a quadcopter like this, mostly like this. We're gonna be using a different frame, but the electronics in the quadcopter will be mostly the same, maybe newer versions, but mostly the same. For instance, this here, the camera is a Runcam Racer version 2 and we're gonna be using a Runcam Racer version 3, simply a newer version. Same VTX as I used in this one and the same stack, but simply a newer version. So, the title of this series is the build of a perfect FPV quadcopter. And that's quite a statement to make, right? Perfect, really SIC, perfect. Well, actually I'm gonna prove that to you. And I've actually already proven it by the intro of this video. This quadcopter performs perfectly in my opinion. Now I'm not the perfect pilot, but this quadcopter performs perfectly. Not only does it fly very well, also the FPV feed, as you can see it here, is very clean. Again, this is from the Runcam Racer version 2. And that's not a cinematic camera, as you probably know. I've chosen these cameras because you can very well see where you're going, which is more important than a pretty picture, right? For instance, if you'd be running a Runcam Micro Swift, things might look more pleasing, but you might run into situations in which you can't see where you're going. So, long story short, bit of luck and a bit of experience made me end up with these quadcopters and they work out very well, which made me thought, well, why don't I tell you how to build a quadcopter like this that'll perform well for you. And with that, this series is mostly, I think, meant for people that haven't built quadcopters before. Or maybe you've tried a few builds and weren't super duper happy with the performance of your quadcopter. Can be. Or maybe you just want to be sure that if you order a bunch of parts and follow along with this build, that you'll end up with a very well working quadcopter. Or maybe you've been flying ready-to-fly quadcopters, right? And you want to build one yourself now. That also means that this series will be more detailed. I've done builds in the past in which I mostly just told you what parts I used. But in this series I'll go into real detail on, for instance, why I chose this motor, how many screws I'm using, and how I twist my cables, how I do my soldering and such. So this will be far more detailed, and again, if you follow along with this build series, you'll end up with a high performance quadcopter with a clean video feed, a presto. That's the idea of this series. Alright, and this being an intro, I'll quickly give you a rundown of the parts I'll use. And in the upcoming video series, I'll for instance tell you why I chose this motor and why this camera. I already told you partly, why the VTX, why this stack, etc. Right? So there'll be no real detail on why and how of the parts used. That'll be in the upcoming build parts. Okay, this here is the frame we'll be using. This is a Catalyst MachineWorks BangGOD 5-inch frame. I already did a review of this frame. I'll have a link up there to my review of this frame in case you missed it. So this is a high quality frame, right? We're building the perfect quadcopter, so yeah, a high quality frame, why not? The electronic stack we'll be using is from Mamba Diatone. This is an F7 stack with a 50 amp 4-in-1 flight controller, and I've already done a review of this as well. Link up here if you're interested. And yeah, in the upcoming build series I'll show you how to install this. Now the motors will be these motors here. These are the Racerstar SIC motors, 2207, and Racerstar does not have a good reputation, right? But these are good motors. They perform very well. We'll get more into detail in my build series again, but yeah, these are high quality motors and they can be had at a deal. For this build series I've ordered up a 4-in-1 package of 4 motors. There'll be a link in the description to it, and this was a steal basically. You basically get 1 or maybe even 1.5 motors for free. So yeah, and yeah, more on the motor choice in the build series itself. Again, the camera will be a Runcam camera. I often use Runcam cameras, as you probably know, and this will be not a budget camera. Yeah, if you are looking for a budget build, this isn't a budget build. This is a perfect build. Yeah. So a high performance quadcopter, and this is a Runcam Racer version 3, brand new. Then the VTX, the video transmitters, I've got 4 from Rush over here, and at this point in time I actually don't know which I'll use. Depends a bit on which fits best in the frame. This one actually has a Rush tank, the original Rush tank, which I have here, which is one of the VTXs I might use. And ideally I'd use this one because I already know it performs well. However, the electronics in the other Rush tanks and the Rush Racer is more or less the same. But you'll see that in the build series as well. And let me see, yeah, I'll be using a Foxeer Lollipop again, work, right? I actually haven't chosen propellers yet, but maybe we'll start by using these ones. These perform well, even though these are the 2019 Gemfan wind dancers. There is a new version by now, which is probably a little lighter, but these perform well, harder to tune though. But well, it doesn't really matter all that much. Most modern propellers perform pretty well. Oh well, we'll see what works out well. I'll test several propellers in this series. So yes, it is quite a thing to say, perfect build before we've even started the build. But again, most is based on experience. I already know that the stacks from Diatone / Mamba perform very well. The combination of that stack, the camera and the VTX, I know will produce a clean video feed, which is important to me at least. And the frame we'll be using is a high quality frame. It's very stiff as well. Not unimportant for the performance of your quadcopter. So that all makes me think I can make the statement that the quadcopter we'll be building will be perfect. Okay, and the build parts will sometimes be pretty simple. For instance, the installation of the motor. So you can imagine that, how many screws do you use to screw down your motor and such. Will be pretty simple. I'll be using a special kind of tape for it that might be interesting, and we'll just see. Some parts will be pretty simple, some parts will be more involved, and the simple parts will obviously be shorter. If you, however, haven't built quadcopters before or are inexperienced in building quadcopters, I'm sure that even the simple parts will be informative to you. So in the coming days or weeks I'll be posting up my build parts. If you are watching this intro at a later date, the build parts might already be available, so I'll have a link to the playlist in the upper right corner for you. If you are left with questions, hit me up and comment down below. Catch you on the next video. Bye bye.